Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and we're going to do a comparison breakdown here today between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're going to start the video right now. All right, so this is obviously a big topic conversation because we got Trey Lance here on the right, and we have Jimmy G here on the left. And Jimmy G, I want to say this was week 3 when they played the Packers, and then we have Trey Lance last week when they played the Cardinals. And, you know, the big thing is who's going to be the quarterback moving forward, right? They obviously drafted really high Trey Lance, and then they traded for Jimmy G. And, you know, with Jimmy G a quarterback, they made it to the Super Bowl. There's been some, back and forth. So we want to be able to hop into the video here and really just give a bit of a breakdown and a, I guess my opinion on who has the better mechanics, who does everything, better, and, just be able to go a little bit more into the technical parts of, playing quarterback. So on the left here, we're going to go through a throw with Jimmy G. And I really like, the thing that stands out to me with Jimmy G, and we talked about this in the breakdown, is, he just gets so much lower body rotation immediately when he steps, right? So see how he goes and immediately gets that lower body rotating there. Then he's able to, from that position, continue rotation in the upper body. And that's just a big underrated part of, being a quarterback, is being able to generate that hip and shoulder disassociation at a really high level. I struggle to even be able to do it as good as, somebody like Jimmy G, and this is something that I work on a good amount. So there is a degree of dexterity and range of motion and just consistency that you have to be able to build up. I've been saying this to really all the teams that I'm working with, is if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing over and over again. This is something I just learned from even going to a business camp, and they're talking about, hey, you guys got to go and, do the different trainings that they offer and stuff like that. And just said that, that you got to commit to it, right? You have to be consistently taking action, learning, understanding what is the material, how you could apply it, and why it makes a big difference in your business. And it's the same thing here when it comes to throwing as a quarterback. If you think, creating more hip and shoulder disassociation would be beneficial for you and help you, then that's something that you should be doing all the time, not, every once in a while. So we have the first throw here. I'm just going to go through a few throws with Jimmy G first. Right, and then we got this one, and this is where, Jimmy G gets himself into a little bit of, problems, and we're going to go ahead and slow down, and see what timing-wise here, where he's at. So we got hand leaving the ball, we'll say 9.273, and then it getting out of his hand at 9.3 on the dot, right? So that ends up being about 2.27, right? Under 0.3 in release time, another person who has under 0.3. So, big thing that I was talking about, though, is you can see he gets those hips rotating. He's stepping this way. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you step that way and then really release sidearm, you have the potential of letting that ball go high, right? And so this ended up being a really high throw because of the position that he threw the ball from, right? And that ended up impacting the overall accuracy as he delivered the throw, right? So we want to be aware of when we're getting rid of the ball, where the ball is coming out of our hands, because if we end up having that sidearm type of delivery, that's going to end up really making a big impact on, where the actual trajectory of the ball goes. You can end up really easily sailing it when you do something like that. And we have a similar throw here with Trey Lance where he ends up sailing it, and you could see how he ends up throwing it really sidearm here, and the ball goes up and over. So you definitely want to be aware of the position. We talk about this a lot. The hand and the wrist wants to be like here when you're throwing. When you get off to the side, that's when you end up potentially, letting that ball sail. So you got to be aware of that and be consistent on, making sure that release is consistent, or else you're going to be, missing really high or to the side. I'm going to quickly interrupt this video just to say, if you like the information, go ahead and click that thumbs up, subscribe down below, and we'll hop right back in the video. All right, here's another one here. This one's just him throwing out to the side. I really like, when he's throwing, how he steps and he rotates and he keeps that front, everything just works really nicely together. The timing is great. Again, he's under that 0.3 range. We talk about that a ton and how important getting, really, I usually say 0.4, but the more you go to it, it's like, hey, we got to get at least a 0.35, right? And make it so that ends up being the expectation, right? Because that once I went to point 4, we started getting a lot of people that were closer to that area, and it was really easy for people to get to that area. But it's like, that's average, right? That's good. That's okay. That's not something that I want to be coaching. I don't want to coach good. I don't want to coach average. I want to coach great, right? And so really going for those great numbers and closer to 0.35 or below is really how we're going to get there. All right, and so then we'll go into Trey Lance. And this is going to be, where Trey Lance ends up, again, getting himself potentially in trouble, right? He has such great upper body strength and power, and he's a big guy, and he doesn't really even shift all of his weight onto his front leg, and he still has the ability to put so much behind the ball so easily, right? But what happens here is that he puts all that behind the ball, and the receiver ends up dropping it. And there's a few times where he does this in this game where he just puts too much on it, and not all of them end up leading to incompletions, but a lot of them end up being kind of difficult for the receiver to be able to catch and run, right? Because the ball is coming in so hot, you really have to concentrate on catching it and then running from there, where, as a quarterback, you want to be able to make it so your quarterback can, or your receiver can catch it and be able to easily transition to running upfield. And it becomes a little bit more difficult when you throw it really hard, especially when you're really close. And I get it with, Trey Lance, he's able to put a lot on it. That's the big thing with his throw, is that he's just able to generate so much force so easily. So, and I think he'll be able to figure it out. And I think also by him being able to work with his receivers, they'll get on the same page. Because Josh Allen at the beginning struggled a little bit as well. And then as it seems like he got guys that could actually catch, his ball, or, got familiar with catching his ball, it really made a big difference in his overall production. So this ends up being, an example of why he has such great potential of being special. And we're going to go into his release again. So we got 4.27. Just going to go there. And he releases the ball at 4.57, right? So 0.3. Okay, another example of 0.3. Again, he's a little bit sidearm, right? So he's going to struggle a little bit with accuracy. This was one of the same things that they talked about with Josh Allen. But this ball was right on the money, right? I mean, right above the defender. He was almost able to get up to it, but right above the defender. He might have tipped it a little bit. Hard to tell for sure. No, it doesn't look like he did. And it really hits Mohamed Sanu right in the hands, and he just dropped it, right? So that's where he's going to end up being really special, right? As soon as he can get receivers that will be able to catch those types of balls, and even Mohamed Sanu is probably surprised that, like, wow, that ball came in, hot. That was an impressive throw. Even working with Matt Ryan, I don't think Matt Ryan can make that type of throw. So he has a lot of great potential. He's just got to be able to, get on the same page with the receivers and just be able to really navigate the offense in the way that I think it ended up being, the way to make it so he can have the most success. To me, in my opinion, I think they should stick with Jimmy Garoppolo moving forward, just because, he's a little bit more familiar with the offense. I think all the receivers are more on the same page with him, but I think definitely the long-term play is going to be Trey Lance. I know I made a breakdown a little bit earlier saying that, I don't know how good he's going to transfer over or transition over, but now watching him play in the NFL and how big he is, I mean, he got stopped on the goal line. That ended up being a big thing. You can't be stopped on the goal line. He got stopped on a 4th and 2 as well, and I think that he was able to utilize some of his just size before, and that made a big difference in being able to really run hard and score those types of touchdowns, where now he's going to have to work that lower body a little bit more, get in the weight room a little bit, and be able to really finish those runs. But I think he'll be able to do that. I think that again, he might have underestimated the size and strength of some of these other guys in the NFL, and in his first start he had to kind of work against that a little bit. But now that he's gone against it, I think he has the opportunity to be able to really start shining. And again, I think Jimmy G's the guy in the short term, but long term, Trey Lance is going to be a stud. He's still really young too, so to me, don't rush it. Allow him to develop, and get him on the same page with some of the receivers, and then start him when you get the opportunity to. Josh Allen, he struggled for a little bit, and then was able to get going. And I think Trey Lance would have the same situation if they started him. And so that's why I think have him do more of like an Aaron Rodgers situation: sit, learn, and when he gets the opportunity, allow him to excel. So that's my opinion. I'm obviously not an NFL coach, so, take it or leave it. But I do want to say, if you guys liked what we talked about from a mechanic perspective, then like the video, subscribe to the page. That all really helps us out a ton. And yeah, check out the description down below. We do have an in-season program. I know it's almost the end, so for the people that have been doing the in-season program, I'm also going to transition right into off-season. It's still a great deal. You're getting $100 off. So, that I think is going to be a great thing, moving forward. We do have the off-season deal that we're doing. If you guys are kind of transitioning into that, I know, there's probably 2-3 weeks left in the season for a lot of you guys. So if you want to start talking about that, we can, or just a regular breakdown, Zoom meeting. We have a lot of options for quarterbacks. Really want to be able to help you guys out. Make sure you're still getting strong, getting your upper bodies right, getting your core right, making sure you're going to get a better understanding of how that all matters, right? Shoulder range of motion, shoulder strength, throwing mechanics, throwing release, and really the timing behind it. So I'm going to be doing more breakdowns and giving you guys more information on how you could really maximize that to make sure you could really take your game to the next level here from 2021 to 2022. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Again, if you're still watching right now and haven't liked this video, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you guys soon.